Architecture constitutes a way of thinking and a means of action born of the question of situating in the world and defining a space of existence, which means how we are going to locate ourselves in the world. This is the main question of architecture. This is the initial question that comes first before the differentiation of functional uses and their placement into a complex and programmatic array. The primary nature of this question precedes the required technology and to a large extent even dictate how this technology should be used. So this question, how we are going to locate ourselves in the world, comes before technology, before function, before everything. This is an existential question. An architectural idea is a specific question, an individual case among the broad generalizations of the larger question, how specifically can situation be accomplished under explicit conditions, and by means of what concepts can the foundations be laid for the available presence, which is the space of existence. The available presence, which means the vacant space. If we want to establish a kind of relationships with the other, we should have inside our souls a vacant space in order that we can relate to it. And architecture is the same. We call it available presence. I propose three such concepts via light conflict, beyond their physical and concrete existence. So think about it philosophically, not but their existing nature. These three enable the expropriation of many additional concepts for the architectural perspective and for discussions of its rigid grid. The generation of new and rich interpretations of varied and multifaceted relationships, concepts such as edge, depth, duration, transparency, simultaneity, and boundaries, and tools for extending thin strings, this between fixed poles, to demarcate available spaces as provisos for creating the city and for its extended phenotype. We begin to design something not by planning and not by arranging things. We begin to design something by concepts, like depth, like transparency, like multifaceted places. You understand the difference? This is a different approach. We are not planning, we are locating ourselves in the world by those concepts. I want to be in a deep place. What does it mean to be in a deep place? I want to be in a transparent one, which means that I can understand something else for what I'm doing now. An architectural idea begins with a transitory, delineated and measured suspension of nature to point zero of a temporary inward convergence where a code is created to enable movement from the individual self towards the public space. This is very, very important, but it's quite difficult. When we begin something to design, we have to suspend ourselves from nature. To suspend ourselves from nature. The question how to locate ourselves is a very individual, existential question. So you have to be with yourself in order to begin to answer it. It's a temporary suspension. After we came to a conclusion, then we are going out of that suspension. So the very moment that we are living this situation of suspension, we need the light. The light is the code of living this place of suspension.
זאב, אתה יכול להגיד את זה בעברית? כאילו, אולי לפעמים איזה משפט,
אוקיי, בעברית.
זה קצת קשה.
כן, בעברית. כשאנחנו מתחילים לתכנן משהו, או להגות משהו, אנחנו משאים את עצמנו בעין. אנחנו משאים את עצמנו מהטבע. מהטבע. כי אנחנו דנים עם עצמנו מה זה נקרא להתמקם בתוך העולם. זה השעיה זמנית. אחר כך אנחנו יוצאים החוצה, ואז אנחנו זקוקים לאור כדי לצאת החוצה. עכשיו, למה אנחנו זקוקים לאור? כי אז יש לנו visualization של משהו. אנחנו רואים בעיני רוחנו אובייקט מסוים, או תופעה מסוימת. ואז מתקיים האור. והאור זה הקוד הזה שבאמצעותו אנחנו יכולים לצאת החוצה.
האובייקט שחשבנו עליו?
מה? כן, האובייקט שחשבנו עליו. שהגינו בזמן ההשעיה. נכון, כן.
На иврите, может, мы продолжим или чуть на английском, да?
На иврите с переводом.
Да, но без сафа ямших.
So via is for the space that allows assemblage and accumulation. The via, the road, the way, is the tool to accumulate things. לצבור דברים. This is the tool of understanding the world. The light is the moment that we are living this suspension place. And the conflict, we need the conflict in order to do the way, the via.
Why?
This is an object. Let's call it housing. Housing. And I'm creating the via with the light that I'm going across through it. But I'm coming to this via with my own perception. What is housing? So I have always a permanent conflict.
So you're conflicting the housing, yes?
Yes, I have a permanent conflict with something which I meet on my way. So I have to interpret it. Constantly I have to interpret it. So I need the conflict in order to interpret things. Otherwise I'm not there. Otherwise I'm not there. So this is always, which accompanies me, is the light. Because through the light I can understand the object. And I can begin to analyze it and to interpret it. So conflict is the tool for formulating an individual specific pattern into a public state, a primary tool that allows leaving open edges for future patterns and for faces or traces of other places from which these patterns will come. For leaving edges open to the available presence between them that include insight from the three modes of time, inner boundaries of sorts, through which city is built. Three modes of time. I think that I'm always, when I'm crossing something with a via, with a light, I have always in my mind the past, the present, and the future. The past, the present. This is one of the tools of interpretation things. And what enables it is always the light, because through the light I can understand the object or interpret the object. I want just to draw some examples how we can use light in order to define our multifaceted attitude or approach to the world. For instance, we can say, ask somebody, a student of architecture, a good student of architecture. This is, it should be said, yes. What is a library for you? What is a library for you? And if he's a good one, he can say that the library for me is 2 wells of light in the piazza. Do you understand?
לא.
פיאצה זה איך זה? כיכר או ש...
כיכר.
איך יכול להיות אבל wells of light בפיאצה?
רגע. 3 wells. I will show you the solution, but the idea of it, because then it's not so, it's very simple to make a library, to make a big hole, to pump in air condition, and to bring shelves of books. But this student, or this clever student, he thinks that we have to put a precondition to it. So if you want to be a library, first of all you have to be 2 wells of light in the piazza. Which means that if this is the, for instance, the piazza, people are walking here, yes? He said, please 2 wells of light. The light is coming inside, and the library is here. Under the ground. Which means we live in the light. So this library is perceived not by arranging the shelves or the books, it's perceived by the light. So if we bring light inside, we can conduct the light. And we can bring it in a very delicate way inside. And we control it. So the light is the creator of the space. Okay.
כיכר, and also the piazza is there.
כיכר. אני שאלתי, למשל אני יכול לשאול סטודנט או מישהו שהוא אינטליגנטי מספיק, ולשאול אותו מה זה ספרייה עבורך?
לא, את הכללים רלוונטיים, הבנתי את הרשימה.